Yeah, but you need that afterwards. Sure. Good afternoon. Welcome to the February 23, 2024 meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. Thanks to Sandy Burbaker and Dick Gould for greeting people. Thanks to Eric Marcus and Beth Handworker for getting us set up. For David Brandenburg, thank you for Ticketmaster duties. Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Swick, thank you for the great programs. And thanks to Jim Gundel for taking care of the website. Benny Jarvie, would you come forward and give us an indication, please?
Well, good afternoon. Please join me in prayer. Oh, Holy Creator, let me awake and see the beauty that surrounds all around. To hear the singing birds and to make their wonderful sound. Thank you, Lord, for my health. It has been good to me so far. Let all my dreams come true when working upon a star. Let me be thankful for the friendship that was lovingly given to me. And never let me forget that caring was made for me to see. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Benny. Joe Jenkins, do you have a secretary's report for us?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. We have a couple guests. Danny, you want to go first?
I got Abby here with me today.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Time out 62%. Brandon just showed up, everybody.
Abby.
Sarah.
And then Karen Lance's here. Right. And then I have Kelly West with me from Greenville.
Hi, Kelly. Yes. Okay. Sergeant at Arms and Beavercreek Mayor Don Adams, please come forward. As he's on his way up, I'm going to pass around a sign-up sheet that'll get us March through May. As greeters, I'm going to start here and we'll go around to the back. Take it away, sir. Yeah.
The boss is a little too much. Keep it down a little bit here. Today is February 23rd, 2024. It's already been stated. It's the 54th day of the year. There's only 312 days left. We'll be here before you know. Some of the things that we celebrate this day is Curling is Cool Day. Curling is cool. Yes. I guess that's more for Canada than it is for here. It's Diesel Engine Day. International Dog Biscuit Appreciation Day.
It's a big holiday.
International Stand Up to Bullying Day. National Banana Bread Day. National Rationalization Day. I guess you can rationalize almost anything. It's Pinocchio Day. Play Tennis Day. And Tootsie Roll Day. Some of the things we celebrate this week is, Brandon, you might like this, Bird Health Awareness Week.
I love it.
Brotherhood and Sisterhood Week. National Engineers Week. I'm sure some of you in here are familiar with this one. I know I am from where I grew up, but National FFA Week. You don't know what FFA is? Future Farmers of America. National Green Week. National Justice for Animals Week. Wow. I'll put in Joe's house because it's National Sauna Week.
Yeah.
And through with the chewing tobacco. On this date, a few things have happened. In 1455, Johannes Gutenberg printed his first Bible. It's an estimated date, and I don't really research that closely back then. In 1836, the Alamo was besieged for 13 days until March 6th by the Mexican army under General Santa Anna. In 1886, the Times of London newspaper published its first classified ad. And in 1886, the aluminum manufacturing process was developed. Wow. As said earlier, in 1896, the Tootsie Roll was introduced by Leo Hirschfield. It's stuck in my teeth ever since. And in 1903, the US and Cuba signed an agreement by which Cuba released Guantanamo and Bahia Bay, Congo, to the US for naval stations. In 1904, the United States acquired the Panama Canal Zone, $10 million. Back in the 70s, I think we sold it back to Ecuador. So now they get all the money from that. I don't think each ship that goes through there, it's a little over $1 million just to go through the canal. Wow, and they do 40 to 45 a day. Now there's two canals, so that's over. In 1921, the first U.S. transcontinental airmail flight arrived in New York City from San Francisco. And in 1940, Walt Disney's animated movie Pinocchio was released. And this day, 1945, the U.S. Marines raised the American flag on top of Mount Suribachi, Iwo Jima. And something that's close to our hearts here. In 1954, the first mass inoculation against polio with Jonas Salk vaccine took place in Arsenal Elementary School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In 1970, the Holy Eucharist was given by women for the first time in a Roman Catholic church. And in 1973, there was a big uptick in the price of gold. It went up $10 overnight to a record $95 an ounce. Sure wish I could buy some of that now. Amen. And in 1979, Frank Peterson Jr. was named the first black general in the Marine Corps. A couple of things that happened in our club this past week. Jim Gundel had a birthday. Sure. 81 years old. Congratulations. And we had a member anniversary. I think he's still a member of our club. Stephen Brown is here. That's 7 years. And I like to always kind of get some information out there. Just clamoring for you. Just can't wait to hear this. So I thought I'd come up with a few things here. The chemical that's used for artificial banana flavoring, it's called isomyl acetate, was first used as a hair flavoring in Britain long before it was ever associated with bananas. Australia has over 10,000 beaches. You could visit a new beach every day for 27 years. The national animal of Scotland, does anybody know? The golf ball. It's a unicorn. Hard to find. Very hard to find, yes. There's a mayor of an Alaskan town called Talkeetna. It's called Stubbs, and he's been the mayor of the town since July 1997. Stubbs is a cat. And these were the first ever people in modern history to start an anti-smoking and tobacco. Viagra, when dissolved in water, can make cut flowers stay erect for up to a week longer than they usually would. So only try it. There's an uninhabited island in the Bahamas known as Pig Beach. It's populated entirely by swimming pigs. Catnip is 10 times more effective at repelling mosquitoes than DEET. And then there was an American microbiologist, Maurice Ralph Hillman. He's credited with developing 8 of the 14 routine vaccines that we take each day, or everybody takes here, for measles, mumps, hepatitis A and B, chickenpox, meningitis, pneumonia, and hemophilia influenza. Okay. In 2002 alone, more people in the U.S. were killed by dogs than shark attacks in the past 100 years. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, deems certain students who take courses in pistol marksmanship, archery, sailing, and fencing, they're certified as pirates. It's predicted that the reason why night insects, such as moths, are attracted to lights is that they mistake them for the light of the moon, which they used to navigate the earth before mankind made artificial lights. The Hawaiian state flag is the only U.S. state flag to feature the Union Jack on it. approximately 1 million dogs in the US are named as heirs of their owners' estates in their wills. And when written down, the word almost is the longest word in the English language to have all of its letters in alphabetical order. And see, now you're much smarter than you were in college. I was. It's my wife's birthday and she rang me to see what time I would be home. Can't talk, I said, I'm driving. Where are you? She asked. She wasn't happy when I said the seventh T. Police officer said to a motorist, what are you doing? Your car was zigzagging like crazy. I'm learning to drive. Without an instructor in the car? Yes, it's an online course. Jeez. Lilith was at her first wedding and gave it the entire ceremony. When it was over, she asked her mother, why did that lady change her mind? Her mother says, what do you mean? Well, she went down the aisle with one man, came back with another. So there were three drunk guys that entered a taxi. Taxi driver knew that they were drunk, so we started the engine and then turned it off again. And said, we've reached our destination. The first guy gave him money and the second guy said, thank you. The third guy slapped the driver. The driver was shocked, thinking the third drunk knew what he did. But then he asked, what was that for? So the third guy says, control your speed next time, you nearly kill us. And there was a lion that was stalking through the jungle one day when he came across the bull. The lion and the bull got into a tremendous battle. But in the end, the lion killed the bull and ate him. The lion was so pleased with himself that he threw back his head and roared and roared. The noise attracted a hunter who followed the sound until he found the lion. The hunter took aim and killed the lion with a single shot. The moral of this, when you're full of bull, keep your mouth shut. When I was younger, my dad found out I was having an imaginary girlfriend. He said, you know, you could do better than that. He said, thanks, Dad, that means a lot. He said, I was talking to your girlfriend. And there was a priest that was approached by a small boy on the street and said, could you tell me where the post office is, please? The boy gave him directions and the priest said, thank you. If you come to my sermon tonight, I will tell you how to get to heaven. I don't think so, said the little boy. You don't even know how to get to the post office. Then there was a guy sitting quietly reading his newspaper when his wife walked up behind him, whacked him on the head with a magazine. What was that for? He asked. That was for the piece of paper in your trouser pocket with the name Laura Luke written on it, she replied. Then he said, 2 weeks ago when I was at the races, Laura Luke was the name of the horse that I bet on. I brought you flowers with the wings. Oh, darling, I'm sorry. I should have known there was a good explanation. 3 days later, he was watching TV when she walked up and hit him in the head again. This time with a frying pan, knocked him out cold. When he came to, he asked, what was that for? Said, your horse called. And there was a woman walking down Long Beach with her children appearing to be looking for something. At this moment, the lifeguard traces up to them. Excuse me, ma'am. He says, I noticed you've been looking for something and was shocked. Will I help? Yes, my husband is missing, the woman replies with concern. The kids buried him in the sand and now we can't find him. Do you remember where you were sitting recently? The lifeguard asked. The woman looks up at him incredulously and says, don't be silly. Will you remember where you were a year ago? And as always, I like to leave you with a couple of positive things. It says nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. And I'd rather regret the things that I've done than the things that I haven't done. Today's finds. If you've ever eaten banana bread, that's $1. If you've seen Pinocchio, that's $1. If you've eaten Tootsie Rolls, that's $1. If you thought the jokes today were good, that's $1. If you thought the jokes today were bad, that's $2. If you're not wearing your Rotary, that's $1. Now we go to David.
Thank you, Don. Now, you are a detector of the lack of honesty in the club, because we should be able to buy our own building with the fines that you charge us. And my wife pointed out that today is so 119 days, or 119 years ago today, there was a first that Don didn't mention. Anybody know what it is? 119 years ago today. In 1905, on this date, Paul Harris convened the first Rotary meeting in Chicago, Illinois. So that was on my list here. All right. Okay, who's got happy bucks? Eric Marks.
So last night I went to the Law Theater. If you haven't been there, it's a great little theater. The show there is called Shipwrecked. It's longer than that, but it's a 3-person show. It's really good. It runs 97 minutes. So it's playing for the next 3 weeks. Go to the Law.
Well said, happy with. If you have any bucks left,
My dad had brain clot in his brain a couple weeks ago, and he had surgery, and he's doing great now. And surgery was a success. So ours is up.
All right, who else has a happy buck? Danny Darby.
My happy buck is that yesterday evening, we did a 4-way test at the Beavercreek High School, thanks to Beth, Brad O'Shaughnessy, and also Al Vihari. And we're going to have the contestants here to present the checks on the 15th of March.
Thanks for coming. I think we appreciate it. Sure.
Yeah, I got notified that on the 20th of May or 20th of April, I'll be inducted into the Greene County Veterans Hall of Fame.
We have to have a table for those guys here in the club. Any other happy buttons? Jonathan.
Our daughter finished out her middle school career for basketball, winning the championship, going undefeated this year, and she finished 35-1 in 7th and 8th grade total. So very proud of her.
All right, ready.
So both my girls dance Irish dancing. So they have what's called Celtic movements. It's this next weekend, March 2nd, at Beavercreek High School. Anybody interested? It's 7 o'clock. Cool.
Any other happy bucks? Any announcements? Okay, let's do the ticket drawing. Remember, half of the proceeds goes to the club's Christmas basket project, which is relatively slim because we Joe Jenkins last week. So the right to draw for, what are we drawing for? What card?
Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts again. You need ticket number 338941. 338941.
Somebody very early.
On our early arrivers. 941.
Hang on, dude.
Good 941.
Yeah, one. All right.
Actually, that's not my ticket. I think it was my Ron Dave's Keep It Honest guy. And that's his ticket. And he's donating it to.
Well, Violence Free Futures, but it'll probably be $1.50 if you do. An extra value meal, but go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. I'll let you know. Oh,
So close.
That's the Black Rose, all right. Okay. So I'd like to ask Brandon Hunt to come in and introduce our program today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I saw yesterday, Pete Mills was gonna introduce, and I said, I would appreciate this opportunity if you don't mind, because I know Jack pretty well. And I thought it'd be a pleasure to be able to introduce her. And she sent me this, and so I'll read her accolades according to her, and then I'll add a little to it. So,
Thanks,
you're
Brandon.
very welcome. Jackie was born and raised in New Jersey, and you will understand that when you hear her. And then she came to Ohio to go to the great school of Antioch. And there she earned her bachelor's degree in psychology and management. She was then hired by Antioch University as the business manager for WISO in 2004. At the time, they had a budget deficit of nearly $250,000, with an overall budget of $800,000. In a short period of time, she was promoted to director of business operations and development. During her tenure, she helped them run a profit, increasing advertising sales to over $500,000, and expanded the number of volunteers to 400, and created numerous successful fundraising events that resulted in a budget increase all the way up to $2 million. At the same time, Jackie went to the other Antioch University. You forgot that when we had,
Midwest.
yeah, Antioch University Midwest. She forgot when we had the Antioch speaker. Those were different things. Antioch College and Antioch University. Never say Antioch University at Antioch College. It's a sensitive subject. So she went to the other campus and went to Antioch University Midwest, where she earned that master's in conflict resolution. After WISO, she created her own consulting business that worked with and for nonprofit businesses to help them plan and achieve success through marketing, business planning, and connecting businesses with the right professionals. Prior to coming to the Beavercreek Wetlands Association, she was the executive director of the Therapeutic Riding Institute. She helped complete a capital campaign to raise the funds to buy a 23-acre horse farm in Spring Valley, created an endowment, new fundraising events, and expanded services offered to students with a variety of disabilities. Jackie became the executive director of the Beavercreek Wetlands Association in spring of 2021. She's been able to help increase the organization's awareness in the community, created relations with a variety of businesses and organizations, and that's raised in excess of $1.5 million. I just want to say I have been on the board since Jackie's first year I got on in December of 2021, and it's been amazing what she's done. She's a brilliant fundraiser and has done so much for this community that so many aren't aware of. Her efforts have led to the protection and restoration of an untold number of acres right here in our community, and we're all better for it. She is one of the most brilliant fundraisers I know. She has helped me with fundraising, took time just the other day to mentor me on grant writing, which I sincerely appreciate, and she's a wonderful person in our community. Is better for having her. And if you think back to everything I just said, it's all community. She has been giving into this community for 20 years, so we are very lucky to have Jackie with us today. So, that work?
That's very.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me back yet again. Just so in case you folks don't know, I also brought along Dave Nolan, one of the founders of the Beavercreek Wetlands Association, who has a really interesting historical perspective to give you on some things in the area. All right, so you guys have heard it before. The Wetlands Association has been around since 1988. Dave, am I the second executive director? Third, who knows? Somewhere in there. So, I don't come from a conservation background. My background is in working with nonprofits. Every day I go to work, I learn something new. Dave Nolan's one of the best teachers you could ever have. Going on a walk with Dave will change your life and your perspective on where we live. There's a reason why we named the Dave Nolan Wetland Reserve after this gentleman. And it is very much well deserved. All right, you said I had it like pressed down on it. What's the secret?
Hold your mouth right.
See a laser painting.
There we go. Oh, here we go. So actually, I'm gonna come stand over here because you don't have to look at me. I hate to look at the pretty pictures up there. So basically, this is all about like what really is a wetland. You know, the easiest way to describe it for most people, it's an area where the water is at or near the surface for a good portion of the year. This is a lovely picture from Pearl's Bend in the background. There are lots of benefits for wetlands. The easiest way to understand it, the wetlands act like kidneys. They help to filter out toxin sediment. If you're in a floodplain, you'd like to have a wetland nearby because it'll hold on to the water and hopefully keep it out of your house. There's one of the many creatures that live in the wetlands that hopefully at some point some of you all will get to see. We have lots of beavers in the wetlands. We have some incredible beaver dams. Actually, Dave Nolan showed me a beaver dam last summer at Nolan Reserve. So if you ever get a chance to go over there, it is probably the biggest beaver dam I personally have ever seen. Brandon, you'll be happy about this. There's a beautiful shot of a northern bluebird, which we have in the area.
To go bunting.
Oh, shut up. So this is the beautiful entrance to Siebenthaler Fen. If you guys have not been there, you need to go. Actually, Dave and I were just out there last week. Siebenthaler Fen is within the Beavercreek Wildlife Area that is actually owned by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Wildlife. Yes, that's a mouthful. We actually took a walk on the boardwalk and through the rest of the Beavercreek Wildlife Area in order to talk to them about expanding the Spotted Turtle Trail program that hopefully all of you have heard about. And eventually the idea is to connect Siebenthaler Fen all the way down to Kugler Wetland Reserve. I don't know how long Dave was out there. I gave it 2 hours and I was done. Because they kept going and going. Not very often, but you will see mink in the wetlands. They look kind of like a ferret. And they will bite you. French gentian, Dave, this is a fall flower, isn't it? Thank you. See, I've learned a lot from Dave Nolan. Beautiful. I mean, this picture doesn't even do the color justice. If you get a chance, I know a lot were seen at Pearl's Bend and Fairborn last year, so if you get a chance, get out there. Well, you know, we all keep hearing about monarchs and that monarchs are in decline. I can tell you, we do a monarch tagging event every fall, and there are less and less monarchs in this area. So one of the best things that you can do is plant a milkweed, a native milkweed in your gardens at home so that it's a host plant for butterflies. So they'll lay their eggs, their caterpillars, all that. So it's a good thing. That's actually Beth Edsel's kids. She's our outreach director at one of our monarch tagging events. And there's a spotted turtle. Yes, I swear to God, there are spotted turtles in the Beavercreek wetlands. We actually have a scientist doing some research, professor from Wittenberg University is doing some research on the migration of spotted turtles in the wetlands. They are also highly endangered.
Can I just real quick? I didn't know this for a long time, and a lot of people don't until you look at our logo. It's a spotted turtle, and the spotted turtle artwork of our logo done by Charlie Harper. If y'all are familiar with his works, he passed away about 15 years ago, but that is our logo, and that's
He's a Cincinnati artist.
the namesake of the Spotted Turtle Trail. So
This is, if you have not been to Phillips Park, this is the trailhead that we put up in partnership with Greene County Parks and Trails. They are the owners of Phillips Park. By all means, please, if you get a chance, go for a walk on the trail. This is the latest incarnation of our map of the Beaver Creek Wetland Corridor. I brought brochures with me, and on the inside of the brochures is this map that you can take with you. If you have not been to State Nolan Wetland Reserve, that's here. That's 58 acres that we bought a few years ago. There is over a mile of ADA compliant boardwalk. There are boat outs that have benches. You can just sit and relax in nature. There's an observation deck. There's all kinds of signage. It is an extraordinary place to go visit. So I hope you will consider doing that. And there's the sign, so you know, and Dave Nolan refuses to call it by its official name because he's embarrassed by it, but we wanted to do it to honor him. And then, you know, we have some amazing volunteers. All this work on getting deck boards onto the boardwalks that we're building, it's done by volunteers. Right now, last year we had over 300 volunteers doing all kinds of work for us, including working on the trail. We would love to have this Rotary group come out and volunteer. We'll even feed you. I promise you'll have a good time, if nothing else. Another pretty picture of a bird that you'll see in the wetlands. This is the Sora. And there's the joy that is Pearl's Bend. This is from Kugler, sunset at Kugler last fall. And then someone took this picture. I think this one is at Siebenthaler. Oh, wow. And then this is a photographer took this picture. This was, I believe this is Siebenthaler as well. This was the first day of spring last year. And this is Siebenthaler then in the winter. So look, what it gets down to is we live in an amazing area that has so much beautiful green space that's free and open to the public, and you can just come and enjoy and learn something new. And like it says on there, we're a different kind of park. So hopefully you'll come check it out if you haven't. If you want to put together a group walk, we'll be happy to take the Rotary out. And now I want to turn it over to Mr. Dave Nolan, one of our founders, ex-board member, and he's still involved with us, whether he likes it or not.
He was term limited, so that's why he's export.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. And this is what you're all going to look like in about 15 minutes. That was good, good lunch, and that's what happens. You get a good lunch, and hopefully, this is a talk that I've actually never done before. So you're like guinea pigs for me here, but it is a lot about history. So history can be a bit of a snoozer sometimes. I'm going to try not to make it so. Okay. Oh, there's this thing.
Top foot.
Here we are, Beavercreek Township that we all know and love. Suburban housing developments. We get some commercial space. We got recreational facilities and some open space. The world we know and love. Well, it hasn't been like this for very long. I'm on your way, am I there? It's actually only been like that a short amount of time that human beings have been here. Here is Beavercreek Township as it was laid out originally. And you can see it's the Little Miami River coming through there from the northeast, and then drained by the Beaver Creek and the Little Beaver Creek. So at this time, it looks like a little over half of it is the city of Beaver Creek, which is 26.4 square miles, and about 21.7 is Beavercreek Township. And we've got a few little nooks and crannies that are somebody else, Fairborn and Wright Pat, I think. So that's kind of the world, Beaver Creek Township, and then if you look at it from a zoning perspective, everything yellow is zoned agricultural, commercial is red, office is pink, residential is gray, and there's a lot of that. So you're getting more and more gray and less yellow, basically, I think, out there. That is the world of Beaver Creek Township in 2024. But we're gonna go through a little time machine here and go back to 1800 or thereabouts and look at Beaver Creek Township. Oh, this is what I was talking about before. Humans have been in Beaver Creek Township for something like 14,000 years since the departure of the last glacier. And the township's been in existence 221 years. So a lot of stuff happened in that other time. And like the history we heard a little bit ago, that was all from the orange, you know. So there is a lot more to history. Just we're less familiar with it. Oops. Okay. Did I break it?
Beth, can you advance it? Yeah, that's
You might not be on the slideshow.
Okay,
figured out.
so that is Beaver Creek Township as it appeared about 1800. And what those colors you see are different types of vegetation that cover the landscape. So everything that is like red was a prairie, an open grassland. And if it's orange, it's a woodland, which is a forest that you can walk through with no brush or anything, an open understory. If it's really kind of dark red, it's a wetland, an open wetland that doesn't have very many trees in it. And so you can see that it was a great variety of experiences that you would have. Oh, in those dark areas, those were all recently burned forests that had been, that were documented as freshly killed in 1800. And a lot of that is what's now southern part of the city of Beaver Creek. So there goes. So this is why it was like that. For thousands of years, Native Americans have been using fire to manage the landscape. And it's really only been the last couple decades that people have discovered or come to remember that this happened for thousands of years throughout the United States. And they did it for a lot of good reasons. It wasn't just because it was fun. But they had a huge impact on the land, which is kind of goes against traditional thinking of Native Americans, American Indians. Kind of think, well, you know, they just hunted a few deer and harvested some wild vegetables, grew a little corn. But no, they actually were managers of the land, and they did it for good reasons. The prairies, they would keep them open. They were their pastures. They attracted bison and elk, and we had all these animals around here for thousands of years that would migrate in and out of this area regularly. And they were attracted by the open grasslands that the American Indians kept open. And then they grow up, of course, after the fire and in summer into these beautiful, pretty flowered landscapes that everybody remembers. But without the fire, it wouldn't be there, because around here, a prairie will grow into a thicket and a woods in no time without something keeping it open. Prairie. And then the wet prairies too, you think, well, they didn't burn, they were wet. Well, yeah, so they might be wet down below, but everything above ground dries out, especially in the fall, and it could be set on fire as well. So the Indians burned just about all of the, like for instance, the Beaver Creek wetlands would also get fire. This is pearl spen. And it too would grow into woody plants if it wasn't kept open by, we don't use fire anymore. We use, you know, brush cutters and things like that. It's just a different kind of fire. In the forest lands, it wasn't just the prairies that got burned. They burned the forest lands as well. And these weren't forest fires like you read about out west that roar through and rip everything down. These were ground fires like this. that burned up the understory underneath the forest, and that made it easy to walk around silently. You could hunt in the woods without making a lot of noise and scaring the game. It also makes it easy to go from one point to another. And they would almost all the land between their town of Chillicothe, which is really just across the river there, and Piqua in Springfield area was open oak woodland like this. So if you burned a little, you get a woodland. So a woodland is you have pretty much an overstory canopy of trees with wide open underneath. So there was a lot of that around here. If you burn it more, you get what you call a savanna, which is more a grassland that has trees scattered about in it. And there was quite a bit of that. And then if you keep burning it, a forest long enough, you actually kill all the trees. And there was a lot of this around too, including in Beavercreek Township. And these were called barrens. And they would grow into a forest if you stopped burning them. So how do you know all this, Dave? Come on. Where are you getting this stuff? Well, I got 3 sources of information I'm going to tell you about. And one is the Public Land Survey System. When they laid out this area, just before settlement, they sent in these teams of surveyors that did a really excellent job of laying out square mile grids and taking careful notes of what it is that they found. And the only thing really to use as a reference point was the vegetation. So they ended up doing a really good job documenting the vegetation. And the lines that they use are still on modern USGS maps. And a lot of our roads go down the lines that these guys laid out. And so they would operate in these 7-person teams like this and go across the landscape and make their notes and take their measurements. So these guys would go out there, and here's what that guy used to write stuff down. This is what he was doing. He was writing down in the records. This is what they look like. These are all in the National Archives if you want to look them up. But they talk about the different kind of trees and what the land was like. And also made these maps like this that actually draw where the prairies were on there. So they actually did a pretty darn good job showing what it was like before everything changed.
With a chain.
So this is a map I put together using those data. And does this have a pointer thing? Yep. Top. Anyway.
I don't know how to make it work.
Okay. So it's got a pointer.
I don't know how to make it go.
So anyway, we're down in this area here, and is that so you can see all these different types of things, and if it's any kind of red, that means it was managed with fire, and kind of the redder it is, the more fire it got. So you can see we had quite a lot of it, and here's I was telling you, this is the Shawnee Village down there at Old Chillicothe. You can see how it radiates out from that area. And this is the other town they had. So this is a quote, I'm just going to read this because another way you can tell besides these is actually written accounts of people. And if you look, you can find this stuff. So this is a farmer who came from England back in 1818 and made a long trip across Ohio and Indiana. And he wrote this in the fall. Then he says, the season called Indian summer, which here commences in October, is caused by millions of acres for thousands of miles around, being in a wide-spreading, flaming, blazing, smoking fire, rising up through wooded prairie, hill and dale, to the tops of low shrubs and high trees, kindled by the coarse, long prairie grass and dying leaves at every point of the compass. So and he goes on about that. And wow, I mean, that's a lot of fire. And there's a lot of other quotes like that if you go to look. In fact, there's a book out about it that came out a few years ago that's really compiled it all, but if you actually go interview somebody, nobody interviewed an Indian who was lighting fire. But if you did, or this is actually an interview of or a quote of the father of an American Indian author who wrote a famous book called Braiding Sweetgrass. And he is giving this lesson to his grandchildren. The land gives us so many gifts. Fire is the way we give back. In modern times, the public thinks fire is only destructive, but they've forgotten or simply never knew how people use fire as a creative force. The fire stick was like a paintbrush in the landscape. Touch it here, in a small dab, you've made a green meadow for elk. The light scattered there burns off the brush. The oaks make more acorns. So, I mean, I'll let you guys read the rest of that, but to them, it wasn't vandalism. It was a creative process. And the other way you can tell is the plants themselves give it away. They kind of like can talk to you if you know how to listen. So different kind of trees have different requirements. Some can withstand fire and some cannot. And some can withstand the shade and some cannot. So if you're looking in a woods and you're looking at giant trees that had to have started in the sun and can tolerate fire, and everything else is the opposite, then you know that it's a symptom the land has changed, and the system that the environment of the forest has changed. And that happened a lot after the Battle of Fallen Timbers, and when the Indians were defeated in this area. And one of the best measuring sticks I know of that could show you this different types of forests is the land lab here at Beavercreek High School, which is one of the most magnificent forest remnants around. And it's got immense oak trees in it like this. But you will not find a young oak tree. You won't find a medium-sized oak tree in there. Those oaks are older than the United States, but they stopped reproducing when fire stopped going through there because oaks can't reproduce in the shade of heavy shade, and so it's kind of an artifact of that. But it's a cool woods nonetheless. So yeah, everything changed when the Indians were defeated. There was still some fire on the landscape. The pioneers and then settlers, really up until World War II, still used fire in the woods and in their fields to burn things off. But all that changed in 1944 when Smokey the Bear came along. Suddenly, all fire was bad. You can't, you can't have any, and it ceased completely. And it actually had a lot of consequences, mostly, not good. I mean, there were some good reasons to start Smokey the Bear, but mainly they did it to preserve timber supplies in World War II. Anyway, hopefully after that, you guys aren't looking like this. That's all I got. Thank you. Did I do a question?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Danny?
Tell the people about your experiences starting at Huffman Prairie and how you got through the idea that this is original and started this whole process of creating the Beavercreek Wetland Association.
Well, that's a long story. Maybe we could do that at another Rotary thing. Yeah, Huffman Prairie is on Wright-Patterson, and it's all the prairies that you saw in that map, those bright red blobs and everything. Those are long gone. I mean, because some of the world's best soils are in the prairies. And so they were converted to farmland a long time ago, and almost without exception. But partially because of what happened with the Wright brothers, the one at Wright-Patterson, a piece of it survived. And it was damaged, but it's been a restoration effort for a long time. And it's really the only place you can go now to see what a big prairie was like. So get out there in July if you can. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, a couple statements first. If y'all find this interesting, he won't ever mention it, but he wrote a really, really wonderful book. What's it called? Renewal. renewal and discovery on.
Discovery and renewal.
And you
It's
can
good.
buy it through BCWA.
Oh, yeah. I was not paid to plant that, I promise. But it's a really wonderful book. It scratches for me like all the itches. It covers the biology and ecology of Huffman Prairie. It covers the aviation history of Wright Pat, and it covers kind of the early history of our area, where he just kind of briefly alluded to the surveying. It goes much deeper into it. You'll see like some of the names of people he discusses in the book. Those names will be familiar to you. You'll have seen them in various cities on signs. And so it's a wonderful history of our area, of the aviation history and the restoration of the prairie. Highly recommend. And also Braiding Sweetgrass is a wonderful book too. But the question, Dave, is when you co-founded BCWA 35 years ago, the pace of habitat destruction wasn't even as bad as it is these days. And so you and the team over the years have done a wonderful job preserving BCWA. But if you were to venture and look 35 years now ahead, another 35 years with the rate of, habitat destruction, what do you see as the biggest challenges for preserving our wetlands? That's a tough question, sorry.
Yeah, well, the Beavercreek wetlands, probably, we've gone through the bottleneck. I mean, most of the development has swept through there. It was all agricultural land 35 years ago. And now there's very little left. There's only a little that isn't committed to conservation or, mostly residential housing. And so, and there's some land being restored. So really, I think probably it's going to be more of an upswing. I mean, yeah, there'll always be impacts to the water, to the surrounding landscape, but it's a good thing it was done when it was done, because you just couldn't do it now. And so I guess I'm optimistic about that.
It's good to hear.
Well, I think also what people need to know, if you haven't been to Nolan Reserve, again, I'm going to urge you to go, but there's adjacent property that has been in agricultural use for years. It's about 23 acres and we're about to buy it. In the process of dealing with the property owner, he originally agreed to sell it to us, changed his mind, decided he was going to develop it and build houses, even though it's in a 100-year floodplain. And sort of at the 11th hour changed his mind. So now, starting later this year, we're going to be restoring another 23 acres of land that could have been developed, but luckily we were able to prevent that from happening. Look, I think it's important that everybody understands we know development's coming. And we're a little organization. We don't have power to stop it. We just ask that the development that happens is done thoughtfully.
Yeah, that's been the philosophy of the group from the beginning. It's not an anti-development group. I think we have a lot of partners, including the developers.
I mean, the township's sitting right over there. They can speak for us.
So there are a few big tracts of wetland left, but not too many. A lot of it has been protected. I think there's over 2,000 acres been protected since then. Yes.
Dave, what about the things that we've witnessed on TV every year, big fires out west? And then you hear the debate between apparently some groups who say, don't touch anything in the woods, should be burned. And then you hear people saying, well, all that shrub should be cleaned out.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Well, in general, I mean, part of the problem again is Smokey the Bear, and then Smokey the Bear came home, don't touch it, don't burn, and nature started some fires out there. Lightning would start fires, but the American Indians also out there started a lot of, and this was always keeping the underbrush down. And precluded these giant fires that wiped out everything. Now that changed. So the other thing is the climate changing out there, and you get a lot more long periods of hot, dry weather that start things on fire. And maybe a third thing is people worry about it a lot more because they build these homes and communities in forested regions where there wasn't anybody before, and suddenly they're worried about fire and you have to protect these communities. You know, but that's the way the nature of it when they built there. Yeah.
Is there a resource we can go to, like we have a piece of property with some wetlands on it? And to talk to about how to preserve that if we do some development?
Yeah.
We can put a conservation easement on it for you, so it stays protected in perpetuity.
There are, yeah, I mean, yeah, there are, you know, there's the government has a solution as far as where you have like the state of Ohio has, you can, as the Clean Ohio Fund, an agency or municipality can acquire wetland or a, what you call conservation easement, which means it would still be private, but you just give up the right to develop it, but you get reimbursed for that. And are a lot of land trusts around Beavercreek Wetlands Association being one of them, that can work with a landowner on protecting their land and still be theirs. And we have several easements.
We have some resources on our website.
But Tecumseh Land Trust, BW Greenway, Cardinal Conservancy, Three Valley Conservation, depending on where you live, there's a bunch of them around.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you find that getting people on the board who are kind of bird obsessed sometimes? Farm.
We're getting rid of them.
I was asking if getting any bird obsessed board members hurt your process. Sorry, Brent, you're not gonna be around long, so I gotta interrupt my shots here if I can. Okay, so we have a book that, along with our tradition, we're donating to the library on behalf of our program today. The Sour Grapes. No connection to the program today. So next week's program, John Silfies, Silfies Media, Remembering Your Why. And I believe that's a program about, I think that his mission is to make developmental disabilities famous. And so taking stigmas off through presenting people of disability in media. Our readers are Amanda Hayes and David Brandenburg. Please keep an eye on all of our outlets for upcoming programs and consider inviting a guest. If you'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Is there anything else for the good of the club at this time? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which saves one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's nice to have a nice speech. It's good to have my chat back.